everybody. Robin here at Toadstool Tarot. Welcome back to our weekly Saturday meeting. Hope everyone's doing well. It's a little sort of murky gray here in New York today. I think it still is. Yes, very gray. I hope it doesn't rain. I don't mind a gray day, but I don't care for the rain. So I just wanted to say, I was watching a podcast the other day. Now, I often watch this podcast. I don't know if any of you are familiar with, I'm sure you're familiar with Mayim Bialik. She had a sitcom in the 90s called Blossom. And then she also had a recurring role on The Big Bang Theory. And now she and her partner, Jonathan Cohen, do a podcast called Mayim Bialik's Breakdown. And it mostly is focused on mental health issues, but sometimes they interview celebrities, and it's usually celebrities that have had mental or emotional issues. Hello, Deanne. Did I say hello, Red Wing? I hope I did. Hello, Deanne, Blue Crescent Tarot. Hello, Nothing So Strange, and Witchy Wallflower. So anyway, they had a special edition yesterday, and they had a live guest, and it was Deepak Chopra, and he had been on the show once before some time ago, but it was like remote, and this one was live in the studio, which was nice. I guess he enjoys their show well enough to have deep discussions with them. And this one had to do with all manner of things, from extrasensory perception to the nature of the universe, to whether there's life elsewhere, and so many different things. But basically, the basic thing was about consciousness. And I thought that was really interesting, how he described consciousness sort of on a micro and macro level. And it really got me thinking about it in terms of the sort of the nature of God, if you believe in God or a higher power or a creator, or he even referred to it as the mystery. So sort of the unknown. And I thought, oh, this is kind of, there's a parallel here, I think, with tarot, because we often talk about why or how tarot works, and nobody has an answer, really. We have different opinions on it, but and we're constantly looking for, well, how does that work? How did that happen? And nobody, I don't think, has come up with a definitive answer. But it's an intriguing question. And so what I thought I would do today is touch on the idea of, we often ask tarot mundane questions like, oh, what's going to happen to me next month? Or will I ever meet my dream lover? Or am I going to be rich? Whatever. These sort of mundane, everyday questions. Hi, Elle Phillips. So I thought today I'd ask you to ask me the big questions. Not specifically personal to ourselves, but big kind of universal questions. And we would test the tarot. We will try to ask the tarot questions and see, are there any limits on what the tarot can answer? And I happen to believe there aren't, but we'll test that. We'll try that out. We'll put it to the test. And I still can't figure out how, whether it's synchronicity or what it is, how so often the tarot comes up with the perfect answer or a workable answer. So if you will help me out, if you will pop a question into the chat, big, I'm talking big questions. If you can think of a question that I guess applies to all creation, all creatures, are all the community, human beings, human activity, love, death, whatever, all those kind of big questions. We're going to pose them to the tarot and see what the tarot has to say. No, I think you already know that I'm a big proponent of using the major arcana tarot rather than the 78 card tarot. And I think it's because I have very strong feelings about these 22 cards having all the answers and having all sort of all knowledge or all representation of anything we might want to ask the tarot. So I'm kind of waiting. I'm waiting for you guys. If any of you can put a question into the chat, we will look at that. If you have anything else you want to ask or have concerns or interests, we can talk about that too. But this is my main focus today, on testing the tarot. And we'll see what happens when we test the tarot. I think a lot of it has to do, hello Saskia, a lot of it has to do with intent. When you pursue a question of the tarot, you need to be focused, intent. You need to have sort of peace of heart and mind and open yourself up to messages coming from everywhere in the cosmos. Hello, William Stalker. Hi, Smith. You are new to me. This reminds me of an exercise Rachel Pollack wrote about in one of her books. Interesting. So, yeah, I don't know whether to go ahead and make up my own question if you guys are not giving me a question. But yeah, I would love a question. Anybody, pose me a question. We all question our lives, our existences. We question the nature of reality. We question the existence of God. We question life and death. It was interesting too, though. Another topic that was brought up was breath and consciousness. And somehow breathing sort of helps you get in terms in connected to your consciousness and focus. Is a lot of meditation has to do with breathing and the space between thoughts. And I got to thinking about that too, because when the day babies are born and they're slapped on the bottom by the doctor and take that very first breath until the very last day when we're on our deathbeds and take our very last breath, in between those single breaths is consciousness. Now, we don't know if it's before or after or if it's ongoing, but it seems somehow related to the breath. We take a breath. Breath defines life in a way. You take your first breath. Well, I guess you are alive before you take your first breath, but you're not really connected with all the senses around you until you take that first breath. And then you sort of lose that connection when you take your final breath. That very Egyptian too, the Ka. The Ka. I don't know about that. Okay. So what we got, folks? Anybody willing to volunteer a question? I'll be shuffling and waiting until we have something. I'm using my Open Face Tarot today, and I had it for quite a while when I created it in 2020, which is an odd and difficult year. I had it since then, but I discovered, even though I love the card stock on it, that's typical kind of make playing cards S30 stock, that over time, some of the cards didn't shuffle overhand as well. They clumped a bit. So I had a version made on a linen stock, which I don't know if I would call this true linen stock. If you look really close, there is a little bit of a grid. And I think there's a little bit of air pockets because of the grid, and that does make it easier to shuffle. So let's see. Okay, the Ka, breath is the life force in Egyptian religion. Nothing so strange. How about what is the purpose of consciousness? Okay, that's a perfect large question. We'll go with that. What is the purpose of consciousness? What is the purpose of consciousness? What is the purpose of consciousness? All right, I've drawn 3 cards. The central card is the Emperor. For me, the Emperor is about establishing one's place in life. It's about establishing all your traits and opinions and values and being firm in that. It's your belief system. It's what makes you you and very solidly grounded. So I should highlight the question. Where do they put it? Can I do that? Yes. Purpose of consciousness. So I think the consciousness is, in terms of the Emperor, sort of finding out who and what you are, what is the nature of you in the whole realm of everything. And in order to find out who and what you are, you have to get a sense of how you relate to everything that exists around you. And I think that comes about through consciousness, experiences. Now we open up with the Chariot, and the Chariot really is choices and directions. In order to establish who and what we are, we make choices, we choose directions. We have to move forward. Do we have to move forward? I think in order to develop and evolve, we have to move forward. And in doing that, we make choices, and those choices are the things that help us develop and find out who we are, what grounds us, what is our nature. Now, the third card I've got is the Devil. The Devil takes us to task with our choices. So it's like we make choices, sometimes good ones, sometimes bad ones. Sometimes there's risk involved, and I think the risk tests us in terms of evolution and change. So I think the consciousness is all tied up in this notion of developing and finding out who we are, the nature of who and what we are. And we do that by testing ourselves, testing boundaries, testing temptations, taking risks. And then in order to take risks, you have to weigh things out a little bit in terms of the direction you move forward. It's like, what's riskier? Is the riskier direction perhaps more rewarding or more debilitating? Just things to think about. So I'm not quite sure if that answers it or not, the purpose of consciousness. I think in terms of this, it's the purpose of consciousness is to establish who and what you are by moving forward, by defining or narrowing your direction in moving forward. And in order to help define that, you test yourself with the risky positions you might be offered in through temptation or positives and negatives in your life, like devilish temptations. So, I mean, that might not be the answer you want, but that's the answer I've got from the tarot. Let's see. Let me go back here where we were. Is the British royal family going to continue in the next century? I can do that, but that's not really the kind of big question I'm talking about. I'm talking about things that are bigger than personal celebrities or politicians or, short-term kind of things. Here, William Stalker Highsmith. What is the true nature of reality? Okay, let's look at that. And I realize in thinking about this that I think that I can find an answer for every question in the major arcana. But in some instances, that answer may come out much like the toy 8-ball, the magic 8-ball, in terms of it might not be as specific as you'd like it to be. It might be very generic, very general, and maybe all the answers that it provides can apply to everything or anything. I don't know. So what is the true nature of reality? Oh, interesting. Oh, wow. I got two of the same cards, but the main card focus is love, the lovers. And I've heard this before too, that sort of like the grand scheme of things or consciousness or creation or God is love. So it's like the true nature of reality is love. And love is interconnectedness on every level. It's not necessarily the way we think of it in terms of romantic love here on Earth, but total connection with the energy of another or others, or energy outside yourself, which is connected to yourself. Love, that's the true nature of reality. Now, again, the first card was the Chariot, and that has to do with direction. So if you want to connect with the true nature of reality, you need to move. You need to take action. You need to move forward. You need to find ways to connect with that consciousness that connects us all. And again, the measuring in how you do that is temptation and risk. So we got two out of three of the same cards again. I think that's kind of interesting. Hello, Anna Mesniks. Let's see. Hello, Kelly. And anybody else that popped in? Who is God? Okay, that's a big one. I'm sensing the answers that the cards are going to give me are very similarly, very much the same kind of thing. But let's see. Who is God? I do have a bonus card in here. I'm curious to see if it comes up. I added an extra card to the 22 major arcana. And if it comes up, I'll tell you about it. It did. Oh my God, am I connected or what? Honestly, this is random draw. If there is such a thing as random, it's synchronous. My 23rd major arcana card is the Self. It's so funny too. It's the same design on both sides of the card. It's the front and the back. It's the nothing and the everything. It's the you. It's the interconnectedness of you and God. Whatever God is you. We're all connected by energy all through the universe, molecules, atoms, whatever. Everything that connects us and doesn't connect us or separates us, it's all connected, and we are part of that. And when I draw this card, usually in a reading, it's like, my question is, who am I, or who are you? Like, or who are you now? And I look at my cards and I come up with that in the reading. Where is your focus now? What defines you now? What makes you you right now? And I'm so happy that this card came up. I don't quite know how I would have answered that if any other card in the deck had come up. But this is so identifiable, this notion of like, who is God? Was almost like God saying, who are you? Or I am you, or I am one, or we are one. This blows me away. All right, the two other cards, we had the High Priestess. And the High Priestess is about going within and meditating and contemplating. And those are the kinds of things that we think about when we quiet our world and think about things like, who is God? Like the High Priestess meditating could meditate on oneself. And where does oneself connect with the idea of God? Third card is the Tower. And the Tower is shaking things up. I mean, we all have certain beliefs, belief systems, and usually they're sort of like historical patterns or political patterns set down by others. But when you get the Tower card, you are either being shaken or you need to shake things up. In both cases, I think this sort of shakes up the notion of the question of who is God in terms of needing to think about it in a different way. So it's really, that was a fun and powerful answer, I think. Let's see, now where did I, okay. Got two blue hearts from Deanne. Nothing so strange. These are wonderful answers. L. Phillips, no way. I knew it. Robin is a great reader. Well, I think anybody can be a good reader if they have the right intention and they really just kind of open themselves and empty themselves open to what they see in the cards, what the cards tell them. 4 green hearts. That's awesome. Tarot is so amazing, isn't it? Wow. Wow. Does this mean we're each our own God? I think it means that's true, but I think it also means we each are the same God, that we are connected. You're my God, I'm your God, you're your own God, you're everybody else's God, because we're all part of the same thing. This is going to be blasphemous to people in organized religion, but I won't be the first one to ever have suggested this concept. Oh, hello, Rolf. Welcome. Okay, here's the next big question. Are we alone in this universe? Are we alone in this universe? Are we alone in this universe? Okay, this is interesting. The focus card at the center is the Hanged One, or the Hanged Man. Now, I think that generally means suspension or suspend the idea. Or in this case, in the answer to this question is like, we don't have an answer yet. We don't know yet. Or hang there and think on that for a while. Like pause to contemplate, are we alone in this universe? Second question is the moon. And the moon is sort of the mystery, the dark side, the things that are unknown, the things we don't fully know or understand. So this goes kind of along with the first one. Some bits of this are being revealed as we move along. We're getting answers to more questions the longer we're around, and the more that we investigate, the more we open ourselves up. So yeah, suspend, pause on needing an immediate answer. Are we alone in the universe? Because we don't have all the information yet, but we're getting bits of it, bit by bit. And there is some sense that there's more than just us, because it's a mystery and we keep asking the question and we keep looking. The third card is the Empress. The Empress is all about comfort and protection and feeling safe. And I think what this is saying is, I guess it sort of depends on your point of view. Are we alone in this universe? Some people say yes, some people say no. And I think that what this is saying is, don't be fearful. Don't be fearful about the answer. It's like we might not be ready for the answer. Maybe that's the hanged man. We need to hang out. We need to pause. We need to wait. We need to see what's revealed, but not to be in a rush or in a hurry or in a panic. We take faith in the idea that growing knowledge and knowledge of this answer that's coming will be a comfort to us. My personal notion is, no, we are not alone in the universe. And even though it's often presented as a frightening concept, this question, or the tarot that the Empress is telling us, do not be frightened. We are not alone, but do not be frightened. Take comfort in that. I drew a fourth card just to see if there was anything more, and it's the World card, and it's us. I always look at this as stepping out into jumping through hoops, or doing what we have to do to step out into the world. And we see the barrier of our world, or our conception of things, as this big ring that surrounds us. And we need to move through that in order to find out more. And so I think this is saying we will find out more as long as we keep looking for more, and we will ultimately be comforted in that. So that's the answer to that question. Let me see if we got any more here. Oh, absolutely. And I know you are open to receiving the right answers. I'm not sure if she's talking about me or somebody else. Universal consciousness as an entity into its own. All right. I love these questions you guys are coming up with. Is universal consciousness an entity into its own? I think I might have already answered that in previous readings, but let's see what the cards say this time. All right, this gives me something to pause and think about. I got the Death card as the central card here. Now, on the Death card, we have death moving forward. Death is usually thought of as the end of things, but often in the tarot, it's thought of as a transformation or a transition period. And interestingly enough, in the Death card, we have a death figure on a horse, and horses are always thought to be transportation or moving, a method of moving forward, like the chariot. They're moving. They don't stay still. They're standing. They don't stand still for long. So this seems to indicate that universal consciousness as an entity it's bigger in a way than an entity, unless you consider that the entity, like I said, is all of us connected like a God in this on this microscopic cosmic level, that we have this energy connection. Now, the first card is the Judgment card. The Judgment card, I think, is us weighing things out, weighing out how we feel about the concept of universal consciousness. And I think each of us sort of decides in our own way, the same way each of us decides, is there a God? Isn't there a God? What is the nature of God? God might be synonymous with universal consciousness, and so an entity of its own. But this notion about an entity of its own is kind of like there is no its own, because if we're all connected, that's the its own. It's all of us. It's one thing. So it's a little bit of a trick question and a little bit of a trick answer. It's like, if the entity of universal consciousness is its own thing, the own thing is the one and the all. So, I mean, that's probably not the answer that you wanted to hear, but that's the answer I get from the cards. Did I give you the third card? I don't think I did. The third one, again, is the High Priestess. And the High Priestess is, again, always inward looking, always meditating, always thinking, always open to answers. The High Priestess, in a way, is like any of us that consult tarot cards. We open ourselves up to the cards and let in whatever information we are willing to invite in. You know, we usually make a safe space for ourselves. We look at the cards, and you know, we don't demand or ask for answers. We open our hands and let what comes to us come to us, and look inward and sort of help decipher what that message is. So I think in terms of answering this question, we probably each and all need to meditate on it a little bit. We need to sort of come to our own judgments about it. And it's similar to this notion of death, like things can never be created and they can never be destroyed. Energy goes on forever. And consciousness is energy. Let me see what else we've got here. We've got any more questions? Might be a little bit short today. Great question, Kelly. I like the Moon card. Fair enough. I agree with you, and I'm not frightened trying to catch a ride, if anything. Okay. Okay. All right. It seems like some people agree with me on this and some find it interesting. Does anybody have any more questions? I mean, maybe there are not that many big questions. If you've got another one that you want to know about, it's kind of a universal sort of question of the big why. Pop it in the chat and we'll work on it. Otherwise, I'm at 1:34, been on a little over half an hour, and we may end this session short. We could take it down to a mundane level and see if you have an idea about a question you think the tarot is unable to answer, pop that in the chat too. I will give it a shot. Now, the tarot doesn't always answer in specifics. It doesn't always answer right or wrong, but it always has some kind of an answer. And that's a wisdom I learned from Kelly at the Truth in Story. I've told this story a number of times. When I started getting seriously interested in tarot, I worried about, is it that important how you shuffle the cards? And how do you know that you've shuffled enough that just the right cards come up for you to read or the spread? What if what if you're a little scattered and you don't know, you aren't fully focused, or you don't have the question properly defined, or how do you know when to stop shuffling? You can shuffle and shuffle forever. You can use different methods of shuffling. You can, numerically do it. You can lay out a spread and then just draw a random card. I shuffle overhand, and her answer was every single card in the deck has something to say about your particular question, or the question at hand. So that was like a mind blower and an eye opener for me. And what about the jumpers? Yeah, if you work with jumpers, I used to think jumpers was a great way to read cards. Just keep shuffling until something jumped out. And that was the cosmos way of saying, focus on this, or here's your answer. Sometimes I felt like I was shuffling too rough or rashly in a way that seemed like I was making jumpers happen purposely. So I don't really do that so much anymore. But if something does accidentally jump out, I usually kind of pay special attention to it. Hello, Will. Welcome. Will tarot look beyond the veil? Okay, we can go back to that. Did I? I think that's the last question. And then also I've got another one here. Hello, Beth. My Lord, I've been trying to connect for 5 minutes. Something is up with my internet. It's like backing through weeds. Anyway, hi, Robin and Shatters. Good to have you here, Beth. So let's see, Will tarot look beyond the veil? I have my own thoughts about that, but oh, it's funny. I'm getting repeating cards. Now, this often happens when you're dealing with only the 22 cards. You have fewer choices or options. But I find that even if you get the same card, it can provide a different answer. So since I work from the center out, focusing on the center of energy, the question, the situation, the position, then I work outward in terms of the energy, the halo, the aura around that. So for this question, will tarot look beyond the veil? I get the Devil card. And that sort of tells me, it sort of jokingly says, don't tempt fate. It's like, well, it's almost like asking you back your own question. Will tarot look beyond the veil? Well, do you think it looks beyond the veil? When you pick up a deck and you consult the deck, do you think you're seeing beyond the veil? If it's not beyond the veil, where are those messages coming from? Are they coming from your rational thinking? Or are they coming from somewhere else? And I would say if they're coming from somewhere else, then yes, that's beyond the veil. First card, again, is the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is suspension. It's always pausing to consider. It's looking for new perspectives. So maybe you need to toss and turn and shuffle this question over in your mind to see how many ways you can reword that question. And in the meantime, pause until you have a better sense of that question to know whether tarot is looking beyond the veil. And since you're the reader, is it the tarot as a system? Is it the tarot cards? Is it the tarot reader? Which aspect, or maybe all of them, are looking beyond the veil? And again, the third card, we got the Moon, and the Moon is sort of the mystery, the unknown, the difference, the different sides of the path forward between rational thinking and intuition, or natural impulses. So yeah, I think this is sort of answering the question with more questions like, what is the nature of the veil? And do you believe that you are looking beyond the veil when you read with the tarot? Is it you looking beyond the veil, or is it the tarot looking beyond the veil, or are you in consort? If everything's connected in the universe, then the tarot and the reader are one. We are all one. We are all connected. So we're looking beyond the veil, but the veil gets a little tricky because we have a space between reality, which is dark matter, and that's the absence of gravity and seemingly the absence of energy, or between energy, but it's a connecting tissue, even though it seems to not be there. And I recommend going to my Facebook page for Toadstool Tarot and click on that link to Mayim Bialik's breakdown interview with Deepak Chopra, where a lot of these ideas and concepts are discussed. It's an hour. It's well worth your time to listen to. It's highly enlightening, I think. So that's my question for this particular, my answer, or my question for this particular question. And what about the jumpers? I think that was in, let's see, where are we? Kelly reads stuff. Yes, I also tend to see jumpers as some kind of important message or a sign. Beth says, I read jumpers too. L. Phillips, maybe we're all creating egregores when we repeat the same tarot rituals we all have. I don't know what that word means. Egregores. I'll look it up. Thanks for posting it in there. Something for me to find out about. Saskia, this sort of answers a question I had in mind. Does tarot have a sense of humor? Obviously, yes. I think it definitely has a sense of humor, and it's often made me laugh when it catches me by surprise or catches me off guard. When I said, even in that one question about what is God, and the self card came up, I thought that was so funny. And in this one, it's sort of like posing the question back to us seems to show that it has a sense of humor. Maybe we're, okay. It's a thought form. Oh, egregore is a thought form. Okay. All right. Well, it's almost 1:45. I want to get ready to, I feel, since I moved to 1, I feel like I'm sort of the opening act for Simon's Saturday live cast on at the Hermit's Cave. So I want to give you all a little time, if you attend those, to gather your thoughts and yourselves and make yourself a cup of tea or something. Get ready to settle into what he's presenting this week. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask a question that's kind of an incomplete non-question. Enjoy the show. Welcome. What is the self card? The self card is a card that I added. Some might say accidentally, and some may say there's no such thing as an accident. When I was creating my first deck, my major arcana deck, I had 22 cards, but the formatting at MPC, you have to calculate how many cards you need and how many images and so forth. And I miscounted. I had one extra card, and rather than leave it completely blank, I decided to take the image on the back of my card and put it on the front of the card as well, giving you an extra card that you could either throw away, you could use it as a bookmark, or you could use it as an extra majors only card. And for me, that card is the self. Now, some might look at the Fool as the self. Some might look at the Hermit as the self. I mean, there are a few cards in the majors that you can interpret them that way. But for me, when I get the self card from my own deck, I ask myself, who are you now? What are you now? What makes you you right now? Define yourself. And usually the other cards in the deck help me do that. Like, this is where I'm positioned right at this moment. This is what I'm doing. This is the energy around me, the actions I'm taking, the actions I have taken determine who I am right here and now. Okay, so I'm just gonna pose the question, what's next? And what's next is a big open question. Could mean many things to many people. So I'm curious, and a big question like what's next? What could that mean? Sense of humor, I tell you. What's next? I've got the Wheel of Fortune, which is fate. We don't know what's next. We work with what we're presented with, random spin of the wheel. We don't know what we're going to get with what's next. We may rise, we may wear a crown, we may fall, we may drop down dead, we may be defeated, we may have success. We don't know what's next. And this isn't necessarily talking about us as individuals either. This what's next could be what's next for the country, the planet, the universe, our belief systems, our consciousness. What's next? The Wheel of Fortune will determine, will decide, will help us arrive at what's next. Second card is the Chariot. The Chariot, again, is direction and forward movement or backward movement. It's, do we turn left? Do we go right? Do we go in reverse? Do we move forward? It's the choices we make, how we get there. We have to make some sort of movement in order to achieve anything. Now, and my own question. What's next? All right. The third card we have here is the Hierophant. Now, the Hierophant is, generally speaking, establishment, leaders, organization, organized religion, world powers, politics, all that stuff. Usually the rules and regulations that rule and regulate our lives, the laws, the norms, things established, things mostly agreed upon by many that are imposed on the few. All these things. Maybe as the third card in this reading, what's next has us questioning or dealing with, do we accept the nature of people or things outside of ourselves imposing things on us? Or do we find our own way? Do we create ourselves, create our own what's next? What's next? I guess what's next, but with the Hierophant could be, do we fall in line? Do we follow established order? Or do we consider that and react to it and work around it or work against it or find our own way? Maybe we establish our own new sense of order and organization. In terms of politics, maybe it's waiting or expecting these unpleasant things to either take over completely or to pass. What's next? But I think that central focus of the Wheel of Fortune, our Wheel of Fate, is sort of like deciding things will happen. Shit happens. Good things happen. We have to decide what we're willing to let affect us in terms of what's next. What's next is different for each and every one of us. In some ways, what's next is the same for every one of us. So there's also a whole scale and range there of things that could be what's next. And I'll leave you with that. Today, at the moment, in 10 minutes, what's next is Simon at the Hermit's Cave. So unsolicited commercial there. L. Phillips, happy you didn't pull the tower. Yes. Well, although tarot could be an inducement to shake things up, to make your own what's next happen. I see Kristen waltzed in. Good seeing you, Kristen. And I'll have a little commercial here. I am doing readings on Kristen's channel tomorrow night, Sunday night at, I've forgotten what time. I think 7 or 7:30 Eastern. But if you search on her channel, it will give you the time. Oh, she's telling me now, 7 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, come visit us. Come see how Kristen reads. Come see how I read. So come see how we interact with each other and with you as an audience. Be great to see you all there. And so with 9 minutes to go, I think I will just cut out now and have a little refresher before I tune in to this other channel. And yeah, everybody enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend, your week, your month, whatever is next. See y'all. Bye.